Updates being made to the Transportation Center in Hyannis. A big meeting tonight to discuss a possible third bridge. Plus, find out what's on the agenda for tonight's school committee meeting. These stories on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Thursday, January 15th, 2015. I'm Sarah Mannel. Updates are being made at the Hyannis Transportation Center, and plans to address traffic issues around the Cape Cod Canal and Bourne and Sagamore bridges will be discussed at a public meeting tonight in Bourne. Barnstable This Morning host Sarah Colvin chats about these topics with Cape Cod Regional Transit Administrator Tom Kerr. We share that interview with you now.
First, I want to talk about some construction work going on over at the Transportation Center in Hyannis. I've noticed some work being done. Tell me a little bit about what's going on over there.
Well, the building is a little more than 10 years old, but when it was constructed, there were some, what I think are deficiencies that have created some problems in terms of leaking ceilings and heat escaping during the winter, and just a number of things like that. And over the years, we've had to deal with some of those things. And so this year, we received a grant that allowed us to, clean up the facility and make sure the insulation is good and all the shortcomings from the previous construction are addressed, and just dressing it up and creating efficiencies that will be cost-saving measures and things like that. So we're excited. It looks nice. It's a little inconvenient for some people now because the doors are being worked on, et cetera. But that's something that needs to be done. Plus, there's some construction going on out at the outside where the Cape Flyer comes in. There's a canopy being constructed, and the platform is being extended. And we're dressing up various parts of the facility. So it's going to look a little nicer, and it's going to be a more energy efficient facility when it's completed.
Great. And so how long is that work expected to take? When are you hoping that project will wrap up?
Well, they have a little bit into the spring, but the company that's doing the work has been extraordinary. They're working, in the cold weather outside early. It's amazing how proficient these folks are in terms of what they're doing. And so we expect everything will be done within the next 6 weeks or 2 months or so. But they're really a great company, and the weather's cooperated. So I'm confident that it'll be done well in advance of any increased activity around the center.
Indeed. We'll certainly give a lot of credit to those guys working in some of those really frigid temperatures that we've had, but I guess a good thing that we haven't had a lot of snow. That's a positive.
All right.
So, Tom, I wanted to talk a little bit about MassDOT's meeting tonight over in Buzzards Bay, the Canal Area Transportation Study. And I know, obviously, as a stakeholder in transportation here on the Cape, you've been involved with the Canal Area Task Force, et cetera. And this really seems like the next step in that. So can you tell me a little bit about what you know about this study and what tonight's meeting is all about?
Well, as you know, Sarah, and others, that the state for the past year and a half or so, or 2 years now, have talked about the construction of a replacement bridge over the canal for vehicles. There's been a serious effort on the part of MassDOT to look at the possibility of doing that, and obviously it would be a major undertaking involving quite a bit of money and in federal funds and state funds and community acceptance, Cape regional acceptance, and there's a number of different ideas that have been floated, and so I think that MassDOT's doing the right thing. They've created a committee of stakeholders, and they've also planned a number of public meetings that will allow anybody who's interested to come and provide testimony and input as to what they think needs to be done. And I believe this meeting tonight will be sort of the first meeting in that vein. And even though there is a couple of different scenarios that the state is proposing. A twinning bridge, which would be a bridge constructed almost parallel, right next to a bridge. That's one option that they've talked about, and the other is a more elaborate a crossing that would happen in the middle of the canal, like in the Barnstable area. And those are the ideas that I think that the state will propose. But I've received many letters from people with proposals for a tunnel or other ideas that might address the issue, or no bridge at all. And so I think that when you're proposing a project of this magnitude, you really have to have as much public input as possible, and some sound engineering planning and ideas and financing plans before it advances. So I think best case scenario, it's going to be several years before this bridge is ever constructed, if it is in fact constructed. My opinion is that whether you subscribe to the argument that we don't want to build a bridge and encourage more people to the Cape because the peninsula can't handle it, well, the bridges are both, the Bourne and Sagamore Bridge are both in excess of 80 years old, and so I call it a replacement bridge, because we really do need to bring the crossings up to standards, safety standards, etc. So I think it's a good thing that the state is doing, and I think we'll learn a lot and see some changes, and have a lot of good ideas that come forward over the next several weeks, months, and years, actually.
Absolutely, and as you say, this is certainly not anything that's going to happen tomorrow. I think, obviously coming up with a plan and finding funding and getting everyone to come to a consensus certainly is not an easy task, and a lot of things to look at in terms of that, and a lot of different ideas in terms of what's going on at the canal. But from a public transit point of view, are there improvements that you could see that would make it easier, perhaps, for public transportation in that area?
Yeah, there is. I've already, well, we have actually developed the Cape Flyer, which brings people to the Cape without their cars, gets those cars off the bridges in the summer. It's only 15 weeks, but that's been a success, and we've carried in excess of 15,000 people down here in the summer without their cars. So that's one thing, and I know that the town of Bourne is aggressively seeking the possibility of extending the Middleborough commuter rail line to Buzzards Bay, which would, I think, be helpful. I live in Bourne, so I would certainly support that initiative, and that would allow people to get to Boston, on a daily basis by train. I don't think that there'll ever be a time in this generation where commuter rail will go over the bridge, because just for a number of other reasons, but at least to Buzzards Bay, I think, makes some sense. And I think that the state will certainly entertain ideas about other opportunities to get to the Cape without your car, because when you have two bridges that have to accommodate every single car that comes onto the Cape, the growth that we've experienced, there really has to be some thoughts and outside the box thinking about getting people here so that our economy and our quality of life continues, but not that it would hurt, the people who live here around.
And again, tonight's meeting will introduce the study to the general public and provide an opportunity for residents to comment. This is the first in a series of public meetings that will be held throughout the course of the study. The meeting begins at 7 tonight in Admirals Hall on the Massachusetts Maritime Campus, 101 Academy Drive in Bourne. The Barnstable School Committee meets tonight at Town Hall. On the agenda under Old Business, a first reading of an amendment to school facilities regulations on community use, and a discussion on naming of the Early Learning Center that will be constructed at the Hyannis West Elementary School. New business includes a first reading of domestic violence leave policy and approval of an external mural for West Villages Elementary School. The school committee will meet tonight in the Town Hall hearing room at 7. Well, be sure to tune in to our hour-long news program, Barnstable This Morning, weekdays at 7 a.m. On tomorrow's show, we will have our weekly arts and culture segment. We'll chat with Director of Leisure Services, Patty Machado, about an upcoming youth homeless count. Plus, we'll have all the news and information you need. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mantle.